Let's face it, we all love guitar solos and we all love lists. So here's my personal, very personal, list of top 20 Australian rock guitar solos. What's my criteria? Is it right for the song? Is it memorable? Is it quirky or clever? Is it fun to play? Is it genius? Does it spark joy? Give us a like and let's get on with it. First up, Eagle Rock by Daddy Cool, the ever-tasteful Ross Hannaford on guitar. Total simplicity. This is the simplest solo in the entire list, but it's perfect. Now, as a young guy in cover bands, I always overplayed, always. But I distinctly remember that those three notes seemed to provide as much self-indulgent fun as I could possibly need during this song. Coma by Max Sharam. Wow, this is psycho. Do you remember this? It came in at number 8 in the Hottest 100 in 1994, landed right next to About a Girl by Nirvana. So it was up there in the public consciousness of this country back then. This solo was played by Ben Nightingale, perhaps better known for his stint with The Clouds. That's awesome. Max tells me that was cut together from a couple of takes. I just love it, and again, I reckon it's perfect for the song, especially because Max's melody is so wayward right from the very outset. The verse is like a D major to a B flat major, and Max's melody it's crazy, like you gotta have a crazy solo to match a melody like that. Well done, Ben. Don't Dream It's Over by Crowded House. Neil Finn plays that solo. And it's beautiful, isn't it? And this is a totally singable solo. It's perfect for the song. It's another little melody in the song. You know, it's catchy enough and beautiful enough that it could have been a song in its own right, a riff for a song or something like that. But I think what I love the most about this is that Neil played it. You know, it's Neil's playing on the recording. There's a great video here on YouTube about the recording of this song by Tim Pearce, one of my favourite YouTubers. A fantastic session guitarist, absolutely. This guy, I mean, go and check out his channel if you haven't already. Tim Pearce, wonderful. But he tells the story of when Crowded House went over to the States to make the first album, and he was called in by presumably management as a session musician, as a wonderfully proficient guitarist, to learn the songs, rehearse with the band, so that when they go in the studio, there's someone there who can really play. But Neil goes, "I'll be right, thanks." And that's Neil on the recording. Is it not enough that he is one of the world's most beautiful songwriters, like an incredibly talented songwriter, beautiful singer, but then he also doesn't need Tim Pearce to play his solos, thanks very much. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful piece of music. Love it. All right, is it Australian? Yeah, Crowded House are an Australian band. I know Neil's from across the ditch, but... All right, next one, Onion Skin by Boom Crash Opera. Now, I presumed that solo was played by the wonderful Peter Farnham, But I messaged Pete to check that, and he tells me that Richard Pleasance actually played the solo on that song, which doesn't surprise me. Both superb players with ingenious parts. The great thing was that Peter came back with a lovely little story. He said that that solo was rich and the outro was particularly memorable as it was a true live take. He went nuts dancing around and waving the guitar in front of the giant monitors in Metropolis 1, a truly inspired moment. And it sounds like it, like the last almost minute of that song, the band keeps playing the chorus and Richard Pleasance is just going off on these, a similar sort of looseness to this solo. Lots of high notes, wailing bends and just, slides, and it's wonderful. In the words of Molly Meldrum, do yourself a favour and revisit that song, that outro. Incredible. Thanks, Peter. I know. Once again, it seems like total simplicity. But is it? Because I tell you what, the song's got that 16th note shuffle feel. And so you're trying to play those bends to fit in with that. It's a tricky little phrase to play with that feel. Anyway, I want to say 3 things about this supposedly simple riff. Number 1, it's perfect for the song. Like, what would you have played on that song? It's exactly what the song needs. Number 2, those double stops are not actually double stops. He's playing the top note up here, I reckon, and Dale Ryder is scatting that lower harmony. Like that. And number 3, those notes, those 2 simple notes, are adding a lot of harmonic complexity to the chords that are already pretty cool. So the chords in that part of the song, which is the chorus, are like a G, which is G7, then an E minor 7, or perhaps an E7 sharp 9, and then an E flat major 7 to a C add 9. So every chord has those 2 notes, a D and G on top. So now with these notes coming into it, we're basically hearing this F over all the chords. That's okay for the G7, but then the E7 sharp 9, that means it becomes a flat 9.
Then the E flat major 7 becomes an E flat major 9. And then the C add 9 becomes a C, like a C11 or a C add 11. I love that sort of stuff. Like, basically he's playing, it's not shredding, he's playing just a couple of simple note choices, but perfect for the song, and taking us somewhere that we hadn't been previously in that song, bringing something new to the song.
Brilliant. Mark McEntee of the Divinyls. Boys in Town, or Good Die Young, or Boys in Town, Good Die Young. I'm going good. It could be any number. There's a slew of fantastic examples of Mark's genius, but I'm going to go with Good Die Young. Angus is very famous for his one-handed solos on a couple of songs, Dirty Deeds and such. But this is a one-handed solo that Mark plays. Although I reckon he's using an E-bow, a little magnetic thing that gets your string vibrating without a harsh pick attack. It has that super compressed sound, and at the start you hear the first note ramp up. I reckon Mark's playing it all like on the A string with like a... That's his ending phrase each time, that hammer on. I reckon that's how he's doing it, with slides and hammers, and it's just such a wonderful little theme that he plays as a guitar solo in this song. The song's in G, and the solo is simply over C for 2 bars, G, and then D. But the real genius here for me is the secondary guitar part, the interplay between those basic chords, that beautiful lead line, and the secondary guitar part. Because the second guitar part, which is based on like little 2-note chords, it moves differently to the overall chord progression, introducing complexity, which I love. Simplicity and complexity. But what happens is we've got this chord progression that's going C, C, G, D. But when it goes home to the G, the lead part is on the C note, and the little 2-note part is on the D chord. So it's like a D7 chord is already being played over the G chord. And it just creates this wonderful little bit of tension in there. It's that sort of thing that just makes me want to sit down and work it out and go, what is going on here? How did they come up with something like this? Mark always looked so cool too. So rock. Did you know he was in Air Supply before he went on to form the Divinyls? Poles apart, one would have thought. Ah, Indy, your last Christmas present finally turned up. Yeah. Thanks, eBay guy who said it'd be here for Christmas. US Forces, Midnight Oil, Jim McGeaney. It's really only a 2-bar phrase repeated a couple of times, but it's precisely what the song required, and it's so instantly recognisable. I mean, what would you have played? So the main riff is pretty much just an A and B thing. So A, B minor to B7. So A, B. So Jim's gone B flat. Well, I guess B flat is the average of A and B, right? Actually, I remember seeing a great friend of mine, the immensely talented Jack Jones, slay this song when he was playing with a cover band called Surrender at the Grain Store in King Street in Melbourne back before he joined Southern Sons anyway. He saw those unaccompanied measures as an opportunity to do some wicked atonal shredding. All I can vaguely recall now, apart from my chin hitting the sticky pub carpet, is some kind of flat 5 stuff, like something like that anyway. Baby Animals. Dave Leslie is a national treasure. And Susie DeMarchi is no slouch either. I've picked Early Warning for the list today because Dave and Susie play harmonised triads at the first half of the solo. It's a bit of a dual guitar attack. It's really clever because it's a pretty straight ahead rock song. They're playing it in B, they're tuned down a semitone, but as you all know, I'm way too lazy to ever tune my guitar down or find my whammy bar, so anyway, we'll get by. So anyway, the first half of the solo is just like that sort of pattern. But the little triads that they're playing together, so Susie's playing like a... So it's like B flat minor 7, and then a D7, but then she goes back to the first shape while the bass player is playing the D flat. So it becomes a D flat 6, but then Dave's playing over the top, he's playing like an F minor triad over the first one. So that makes that B flat minor 7 now a B flat minor 9. It's like a... we got that voicing for the first chord, So then after that section, Dave just cuts loose and it sounds just like a live take. Like, he's such a fantastic player. Last time I saw Dave play was at the Corner in Richmond before this whole COVID thing, and he was part of a Bowie tribute show, and he was having way too much fun. You know, when you're watching a guitarist and he's just, I don't think I've seen many guitarists have as much fun as Dave Leslie was having that night, playing all those Mick Ronson lines. Man, unreal. But he's just so good. It's such a lovely fella as well. It's a tricky little solo to play. I love how he sort of starts wailing away with lots of flat fives. There's flat fives all through his playing. Like that first little bluesy run, he's got that. Down to the sixth as the band goes to the E flat chord. So then Dave, after playing a few shredding licks, then he goes down to that muted kind of and drifts right across the beat. Now, the way I've written this out, if you check out my Sound Slice page, it sounds like he's playing groups of 4 eighth notes where there should only be 3. I think that's what's happening, but it drifts right across the bar. It's more a feel thing. There's no way I can count it, but he's brilliant. Yeah, to peel off something like that in the studio, amazing. And watch his live clips, because he's even better live. Incredible. Love your work, Dave. And Susie. Diesel. You all know how much I love Diesel. Pretty much every Diesel tune has an amazing guitar solo on it. Tip of My Tongue has another wonderfully singable lead break that... that baritone break on Come To Me all come together with that sensational octave effect on there. And One More Time is just brimming with tasty licks from start to finish. But Man Alive is one of my personal faves because it really shows off some of Mark's trademark wailing with the wah. Yeah, awesome. I included the bass, those little bass licks there too, because I don't know for sure, I can't find it written anywhere, but I would put money on it that Mark played that part as well. He's an all-rounder, and that has such a funky feel to it, which if you've seen this guy play live or listen to any of his recordings, you'll know that Diesel, Mark Lizotte, ridiculously funky feeling player. The outro to that song also has some tremendous licks. It's a great solo at the end. There's a part where the song comes right down and he's playing something like yeah, very cool. Next, Skunkhour, up to our necks in it. Oh man, I didn't want to say too much before that because many of you, especially internationally, won't have heard of Skunkhour, or Warwick Scott was their funky guitarist. But man, in the 90s, those guys released so much juicy gear. There's not too many real funky Australian bands. There's lots of stuff we can call funk, but Skunkhour are terrifically funky. And as you heard from that solo, which I just love, I could play that over and over and over. The whole thing's over D minor. Well, it's a D minor bass. Apologies to Dino for massacring your beautiful lines there, mate. But I love doing it. I love having a crack. So yeah, the bass is pumping away on a D. It's a D minor tonality, and that guitar part, the rhythm that comes in. So it's like a G minor, but still over the B bass. So the key of F fits beautifully over all of that. But what I love is that starts off little flat 5 bends. That's beautiful, right? It catches our ear right from the start, and then, it's sparse. There's only drums, bass, and guitar playing. But then he makes it sound like the chords are changing underneath, because he goes into that beautiful arpeggiated and resolves back onto the D. So it's really just a G minor 6, I guess, or C9, you could call it. Yeah, amazing, beautiful solo, beautiful. Go check them out. Next up, Happy Anniversary by the Little River Band. Aussie yacht rock. These guys were a world-class band. Tremendous songwriting, musicianship, vocal harmonies, production skills. And this era of those guys is my favourite. Dave Briggs on guitar. There's a clip of Briggsy ripping that one up somewhere in Germany in 1980. He improvises a couple of other wicked little licks in there too, so check it out on the Shorik Bertels Goebel YouTube channel. Actually, it was Briggsy that awarded me this when I was a kid at our local Battle of the Bands. Down on the Border, Little River Band, Farnham era Little River Band. Even though early LRB is my personal favourite era, they were absolutely brilliant all the way up until they lost the rights to their name and all their original members were replaced by hired guns. Anyway, this little slice of Aussie country yacht features an amazing solo by Steve Housden. That's actually really tricky for me to play. Like, there's a little bit of hybrid picking in there. Say what you will about Steve Housden's ethics, but Mother Plucker can play. So it's got a lot of double stops in it. It's very country. I love that little run. So I'm doing like a hybrid. So he's sliding up to the flat 5 there. And gets right up to that octave just for the one note on the high A. I always loved that when I was a kid, before I knew how to hear what was going on. I just heard this song on the radio and went, what is that guy doing? He's just getting all this range out of the instrument. Brilliant, brilliant solo. And very singable once again. INXS, Devil Inside. Now, INXS are my all-time favourite Australian band, but they're not known for their solos and their lead breaks. What they are known for is writing super hooky, catchy melodies and riffs, and this solo is no exception. My favourite bit there is I mean, it just sounds so out. It's in, it's out, it's in, it's out. So it's played by Kirk Pengilly, who was noted for being the band's saxophonist, but he was a great guitarist as well. You know, to me, when you hear someone whose primary instrument is elsewhere and then they play something on guitar, you can kind of tell, and not in a bad way, in a terrific, inventive way. And I think that's what's going on here. So the song is in C, but the solo section modulates slightly to G, E minor, G, back to C. It does that twice. Now, that run, you can hear there, it sounds like it resolves onto the last note there, the C note. So it's beautiful from that point of view because it brings some tension in there and then releases as the band all hits that big C chord and he lands on a C. But the scale that he's playing is really an A blues scale with the adding the A flat or the G sharp note in between the root note and the flat seventh. So you can think of it like this shape. Very common, we all do that sort of stuff. But he's playing that over an E minor chord and then a G chord, and it's not until the very final note that we get to C. So he's using, I guess, some theory in that we're in the key of C and I'm using an A minor pentatonic or a C major pentatonic, but because he's putting those blue notes in there over those G and E minor chords, there's just so many out-sounding notes going on. What I mean by out-sounding notes is over the E minor, he plays. So there's a G sharp and a G. The G sharp is the major third, not the minor third. Then he plays a major seventh on his way between the E and D notes. Anyway, not too much theory, please. But that is fantastic. You know, it's not a very tricky solo to play. There's no great flash or techniques going on in there. But man, every time it comes on, you can sing every note. That is beautiful. Well done, Kirk. Keith Urban. Now, this one's a little bit different. For those who haven't seen it, in 2005, Keith released a live concert DVD called Living Right Now. And during this, he covered Tom Petty's Free Fallin'. There's a moment in this performance where Keith brings his band right down and then he plays a few simple lines before this perfectly choreographed crescendo to fantastic, tumultuous applause. Let me tell you what is genius about this solo. Keith takes his very white, very risk-averse, very not jazz audience, and he coaches them through appreciating a piece of improvisation, something they've never heard before. They're going nuts for it. Here's how he does it. Keith starts by playing this super simple diatonic phrase based on the major scale, no rhythmic variation. Then he gives the audience 2 more beats to digest it, just to let them know they're still safe. Then he does it again with a tiny, easy to digest change, still within the scale, still within the same rhythm. Then he does it a 3rd time, but this time he keeps climbing and climbing. I feel a little bit uneasy. Where's the 1? Has he tricked us? Oh, hang on. Now he's just playing 1 note, but he's bending it higher and higher, and it's getting faster. Oh my goodness. Is that the fastest and highest any guitarist has ever played? He's like Carlos Sultana. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Genius. Brett Garsed on Two Strong Hearts by John Farnham. Now the thing is, Brett Garsed is one of the most exceptional slide players in the entire world. I mean, without a slide, he's an absolute monster with insane skills. Insane. But then he pops a slide on his 2nd finger in standard tuning, and the rest of us are like, what just happened? So I can't even begin to play this for you the way Brett does it. But I can do it without a slide, just so you can see those wonderful note choices and hear those wonderful phrases. Killer. Next, the blistering Chris Cheney, Living End. Now, here's another guy whose entire catalogue is dripping with brilliant guitar moments. But for me, and I think for most of us, it all started when Prisoner of Society blasted out of Triple J radio back in the early 90s. I mean, this song's got everything. It's got those wonderful little barrel roll things. I use hybrid picking for those. I'm like, so we're on an A chord, hammering on from the C to the C sharp note, then picking downwards for the next note, and then plucking with my middle finger for the bottom string. And I love how he changes to the diminished shapes for that climb up. Then he's got those all those double stops. It's like a rhythmic displacement, you know, it crosses over the beat as he plays through that one. Then it's got like 3 different modes in this solo. So in this run here, so it's Aeolian to A Dorian. So he changes just that one note in the A minor scale from the F natural to the F sharp into A Dorian, and then a nice little jazzy bit of chromaticism to close that run out. It's brilliant. And then after that fantastic run, Chris goes into the E Locrian mode for the final passage. So he's just doing octaves and there's, you know, open string noise and all that sort of thing going on. I actually dice my pick and strum this with my, because I like quite a hard pick, but I find that makes it really hard to, it gets really messy, it kind of catches. It's my technique. So I just chuck it between the fingers and strum that with the thumb. Anyway, so he climbs up octaves E, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. So it's an F major scale, but starting on the E and played over an E chord. You know, the song's in A, but we're over the 5 chord at this point. So that's another fantastic little twist in the tale. E Locrian. Amazing. Well, what did they slip into your tab cola, Chris? Australian Crawl. Another dilemma. Simon Binks recorded so many ripping solos on Aussie Crawl songs. I love his outro on Things Don't Seem with those chromatics in there, and Errol is a great fun solo to play, but his beautiful measured performance on Reckless on the nylon string guitar I think is perfect. Another very singable, beautifully phrased piece of music. Binksy. The guitar solo from Waiting for That Train by Southern Sons has always been one of my absolute favourite Aussie music moments. Played by the one and only Jack Jones, or Erwin Thomas if you prefer. Now Jack is a very dear friend of mine. I have so much love for this man and admiration for his pure musicality, as well as all the hard work that he has always put into it. So look, if I start banging on too much, just humour me for a moment. Now this solo is an absolutely world-class performance. It's one of those guitar breaks we all hang out for in a pop song, you know. It's like a Lukather solo. Like, fits the song perfectly, but blows your mind within 30 seconds. So look, my favourite bits in this solo are definitely when the band goes up to a C chord and Jack does that. You know, it's a C7 lick. So he's playing a G, A, B flat, which is like in a C7 chord. Then the phrasing of that little chromatic descent. He bends to that F sharp note as the band goes to a D chord. This is something Jack is fantastic at. Like, I've seen this guy play throughout his entire life, and he nails what's going on in the song. He's not just playing his favourite licks over the top. He's outlining the chords, and he's thinking lyrically the way he plays. You know, he's creating these beautiful little melodies and phrases throughout. That's what's so incredible about it. So the next bit that follows is also a favourite of mine. I love anything chromatic because, you know, there's these short split-second moments where there are notes that shouldn't be in the song that whiz by. I love that sort of thing. Jack does a line that's like... It seems really random. I'm playing there an E to G, F sharp to D sharp, F to D. So it's just that minor third shape drifting down. But if we think of the fact that he's playing over a C chord again at this point, it's basically that old blues lick, you know. That's what he's playing. But he ends up playing an E blues scale lick, a great E blues scale lick. One of my favourite blues licks. It goes like this. I reckon that is wonderful. So straight down the E minor pentatonic, then put the flat 5 in to the 6. And my final favourite part is the flurry of pinch harmonics and squeals that Jack puts into the final little phrase there. So we're back over the E, the band's playing a riff like... Pretty sure that's what the riff is. So we're over an E, as I say, but Jack's playing an A major arpeggio with a little pick squeal on that first bend. Then he does the same sort of thing back in E. As he lands on the E note, gets a pinch harmonic on that as well and slides up and back to the F sharp. And a B to the D. Yeah, that just sounds fantastic because it's also crossing the beat. So where those pinch harmonic squeals are happening is changing its place in the bar, in the rhythm of the song. So it sounds like it's random. There's these low notes with these squealing high notes in between, just here and there. And because he's bending and sliding, it just sounds so random. It's so very effective. A wonderful, wonderful solo. All right, it's time. ACDC. Angus Young, you know, known the world over for his lead breaks, his guitar playing. There are so many wonderful solos to choose from, but my favourite has always been You Shook Me All Night Long. It's so melodic. It's got everything. I mean, it's a very fine line. I'd happily be argued with that a different one is his best, but this is the one that's always stuck with me. It's got so much in it. You know, I love the little the chunky bits at the start, the way he really digs into those notes, really heavily muted to really bring out the phrasing. Because when you play with a fair amount of distortion and volume, you'll lose a lot of dynamics, and you get this automatic sustain that happens and noise that fills the gaps. But Angus overcomes that with his clever techniques and his wonderful ability to allow his lines to breathe as he builds in that solo. And it moves beautifully from minor pentatonic to major pentatonic. It starts in the G minor pentatonic, but then he's got the moving that little minor third lick up. He's going to the G major pentatonic there, just in the right spot. And then he does it's not quite a major third bend. It's like a 3/4 bend, but it sounds major. Straight back to the minor pentatonic. But then major pentatonic at the end of that line. So he flips back and forth between those two scales so effortlessly in this solo. Of course, it's got his trademark vibrato. There's a wonderful point towards the midpoint in the solo where he bends up to the G note, holds it for a beat, then shakes the shit out of it with his typical way. I can't get it to sound right, but oh, it's so clever. So much to love about that guitar solo. I'm going to do it here simply with an acoustic guitar backing. I've just played the rhythm guitar part on an acoustic guitar on my Maton to show you that, even without Malcolm's tremendous locked-in rhythm guitar and without Phil Rudd escalating on the drums, have a listen. Next time you listen to this song, listen to the drum track throughout that solo. It builds and builds and builds as well. The last 4 bars, he's just going nuts on the crash, and yeah, wonderful. But I've stripped it right back here so that you can hear the interplay and hear how beautifully melodic this solo is. It's singable. Enjoy, like I did. Mondo rock, come said the boy, Eric McCusker. So much nuance. This break is incredibly lyrical. It breathes. It has so much space between those clever phrases. My favourite part is where Eric lands on that F sharp note to highlight the change in tonality before depressing his whammy bar a little bit, then pulling off to the D with heaps of vibrato. Oh, sweet! Notice also how he contrasts some beautiful ringing phrases with some perfectly placed staccato lines throughout. Eric McCusker plays with so much finesse on this song. It's this sort of playing that John Mayer is currently famous for. It's like skill that can't be faked. Amazing. Should have been my number one. But... so to number 1. Mossy, Forever Now, Cold Chisel, Ian Moss. I've already made a whole other video on this perfect guitar solo. Go and check it out. But let me just run you through the highlights. Why I love this so much. For a start, it taught me the Lydian mode. Mossy uses the Lydian mode in this, but he doesn't just use it like everyone else I've heard who says, oh, you can use this because it sounds different. You know, this song is kind of about pleading and yearning, and it sounds to me like Mossy he's reaching in this guitar solo. He's already yearning with those crooning notes, you know, trying to make his case. And then he steps it up. He's all of a sudden, it's like he's thought of something else he can use to plead his case in that part of the solo. It's like, but did you know, what about? It totally sounds like that to me. I know I'm reading a lot into it. The other thing that I love about it is the phrasing. The phrasing is out of control. There's that one part where Mossy plays a series of 4 notes within the space of 2 beats. Then he goes to 5 notes within the space of 2 beats. 6, 7, and then he's on his way to doing 8 before the phrase changes. It's ridiculous. It's that phrase, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And finally, just his touch, his conviction, the way he plays this, you know, that is a real talented guitarist. That's not someone who's spliced together 14 takes and I'll just punch that note in there. There's emotion and every note is bent just the right amount to make the point, to get the passion across. And his pick attack varies and his vibrato is just right. I could go on and on. Obviously, I love this so much. Well, that's it. My Aussie Top 20. The order is almost arbitrary, but the content I'm happy with. What do you think? What did I miss? What's your fave to play or just to listen to? Don't forget to tell me where I went wrong. Thanks for watching. Hey, don't forget to subscribe, and if you do, ring that bell so you don't miss out the next list.